is a place at the table. And I love the reading that Marguerite opened with. It's so beautiful by Ernest Holmes. And it's actually the preface of the 600 plus page Science of Mind textbook. And the Science of Mind textbook was not written as a religious doctrine. It was written as principles and a way of life. Really a way for us to live that we can touch the goodness that's ever present. And what's different about that opening, the welcome, his prayer, is he truly says all are welcome. We live in this abundant world. The riches are there for all of us, not just the selected few or the chosen, but each and every one of us. Now, when he talked about his table, a physical table on this physical universe is exclusive. Only so many people can sit at a physical table. But he's talking about the spiritual table of life, which is absolutely unlimited, and that each and every one of us is welcome to show up on this journey of awakening. We know and say most Sundays, we're all going to the same place. We're all going home to Spirit, where we can recognize and know who we really are. It just takes some of us longer than others. But hopefully we'll talk about that today and help over some hurdles that might be showing up for some of us right now. Many of you, as I have several times, I do this many times, think of a table and the people that inspire you, living or dead, are sitting around the table, and it's your dinner table. You can invite 6 people, and you get to spend a dinner time with all the people that inspire you. And we do need mentors and teachers and giants to guide us and teach us. And how wonderful it is to be at a table and be able to talk to those people, even if it's in your own mind. And if you think at your table of 6 people, who those people might be today, because I find out when I do this, there are different people at different times. But what I also know is all the people that you've invited to that table, because they're so inspirational. What you recognize in them is because they tap into that part of you. We can't recognize what we don't have. So what you honor in these people is something that's simply waiting to be rekindled, reactivated, expanded in you. However, I don't think that's exactly what Ernest Holmes was talking about when he wrote his book, just to invite people to the table to talk. He talked about a way of life that we have to live and practice and express. A way of life that we can truly tap into the good that is ever, ever present. And he said, which I think we all know, that we live in an abundant universe. Actually, I read a quote from Ernest Holmes where he said, it is a sin to be poor. But he didn't mean not having any money, because that happens to us sometimes. He means to be poor in consciousness, to think this world is limited. And what a sin, we don't believe a sin is something innately wrong with us. We believe a sin is just something that means missing the mark. We're not focused on the right things. If we feel lack and limitation and not enough in our life, it's because we're focused on the wrong things. He went on to say that, in my belief, one man is neither better nor worse than any other. The problem is we're just ignorant. We're ignorant of who we really are. There's a basic goodness, a divine center in each and every one of us. It's there, each of us, a divine center, a basic goodness. It's the stuff of which we're made. It's there for every single person. So when he says no man is better or worse, it's because the goodness is part of all of us, not some of us, all of us. He just said, when he said some of us are ignorant, I'd go on and say not only are we ignorant, we become professionals at hiding it, covering it up so we don't even touch that goodness. It's too hidden. Do you know any of those people? A professional at hiding the goodness that we are. Let me tell you what he goes on to say. He was asked, what's the trouble with the world? Now, what he said, I think, touches each of us. Because we know that we're in a human experience. We're spiritual beings having this human experience. And part of our human experience is what he's talking about. He said, most people feel lonely. Is there anybody here that has never felt lonely? One of the human emotions. And from that loneliness comes a sense of frustration and isolation. Is there anybody here that has never been frustrated or felt a little isolated? And then what happens when we keep that spiral going, that energy of loneliness, frustration, and isolation turn into guilt and rejection. And those are emotions and feelings that we have that are here for us. Remember, there's two things we teach. God is all there is, and we are one with God. So everything is part of God. Yet I bet if we made a table and put all of our emotions around the table, we'd tell some of them to leave. Get away from my table. I don't want you there. When in actuality, everything comes to us as a gift. Everything. There's a poem written by one of my favorite Sufi poets, Rumi, 13th century mystic. And this is a good message for all of us, because when something comes to our table uninvited, how are we going to handle it? And if we think of the emotions, I mean, maybe you woke up in a really cheerful, chipper mood this morning, and maybe not. But this is a good message for each of us, because if we're here really to be inclusive and welcoming at our table of life, we have to be accepting of the potentiality that's there, that stretches us, and accepting of the pain. And we have to befriend the things that are uncomfortable. It's the allness of life. Rumi says this being human is a guest house. Every morning is a new arrival. A joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain all. Even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. Something new, but we have to make space for it. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. Each has been sent as a guide from beyond. So at this table, with all your feelings and emotions, stand back, be aware. They're here as part of this human experience. And many people journal to find what the message, what the gift is that each of these emotions have. Some talk with a valued friend. And when we talk and get these out, it allows us, oh, so there's my message. There's what I'm here to learn. That's what I'm here to know. I know many of us would like to think that these beautiful mentors we have on our wall, the people we put that inspire us around the table, have never had to deal with having an uninvited guest at their table. But it's not true. Every mentor we have, every person we know in this human carnation has uninvited guests at their table. Things that would be easier to do without. There's a story in the Bible, the story of Jesus and the Canaanite woman. And Jesus, in the time of Jesus, the Jewish community, the Jewish territory in the land was interesting. In Judea, there's where the good Jews lived, because they were close to temple and they could pray and be there often. They're the good Jews. Well, then they got kind of marginalized as they moved further away from the temple, and there was Samaria and Galilee. And so that was a Jewish territory with the good Jews and the marginalized Jews, and it was still the Jewish territory. Outside of that, the Canaanites lived there. They were sinful, godless people, and the Jews hated them, and they hated the Jews. Well, not a good match, but anyway, there came a time in Jesus' ministry that his rabbis were worn out. Do you ever get that way in service? You feel a little worn out? You need a rest. You need a break. And so he was going to take them out of the Jewish territory and give them a rest and give them some time alone. So he took them out. And I want to read this passage from the Bible. It's mentioned several times of one of Jesus' journeys where someone came to the table that wasn't invited. Jesus went away and withdrew. He withdrew himself and his disciples to the district of Tyre and Sidon. And behold, I'll put a little addendums in here, not this one. And behold, a Canaanite woman from that region came out and was crying, "Have mercy, O Lord, Son of David, on me and my daughter, who is severely oppressed by a demon." And I want you to think for a moment. Here's a woman who recognizes Jesus as a healer, as a Messiah, recognizes him. But she comes from a land that hates him. But because of a really difficult time in her life, she had the courage to cross the imaginary boundary. Courage to ask for help. She had the courage to speak to Jesus very honorably and kindly. Jesus responded without a word. And after that, his disciples came to him and they were begging him, "Please send her away, for she is crying out after us." I'm sure they were saying, "We're here to rest. Can you just get her out of here? We don't want her at the table. Get her away." And so Jesus went to her and said, "I was sent only to the lost sheep of the house of Israel." Meaning he was here just to look after the Jews. That was his job. He didn't have time for anybody else. And he wanted her to go away. They needed rest. But she came. She wouldn't take no for an answer. She came and knelt before him, saying, "Lord, help me." Knelt down. "Lord, help me." And he answered, "It is not right to take the children of God's bread and throw it to the dogs." My goodness. But she took no offense to that. That was kind of a common term that the Jews used for the Canaanites. She didn't take offense to that because you know why? She was his teacher. She had a bigger purpose at that time. But you have to recognize she didn't take offense to it. And she said, "Yes, Lord. Yet even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from their master's table." Epiphany for Jesus. A wake-up call. Opportunity knocks for us, but it's not always dressed as we would think. Sometimes it is the person at the table that we'd rather not be there. And he was taken back. And he said, "Oh, woman, how great is your faith." Beyond the judgment of where she came from and how she practiced, he could see the strength of her faith. And Jesus never backed away from what he saw as faith. And he said, "Go home, and it is done as you desire." And sure enough, she went home and her daughter was healed. That time changed Jesus' life, changed his path in ministry. It was no longer he was just there for the Jews. He was there for the Jews and the non-Jews. He said, "Go and make disciples of all nations." Take down the judgment and the barriers that keep us separate. How much we can learn if we listen deeply. You know what it's like when you sit at a table and you have your friends plan and somebody sits down in someone else's seat. You're like, "What are you doing there? I wanted someone else there. What are you doing there?" But if we look at life, our emotions, but all of life, as an honored guest, that everything, even if it's packaged not the way we want, is an honored guest in there to teach us. And somebody might be a teacher for us who's arrived, and we can be going, "No, no, no," when our job is to listen. Okay, so we've handled that person that sits at the table that we don't want. But what happens if you and I go to a party? It can be a wedding or a birthday party, or it can just be just a fun get-together, and we want to sit with the cool people. The people that are either going to be really intellectual and stimulate us, or really fun, or, we have it all planned. Come on, you've been there. You know what I'm talking about. And we get to the table, and there's no room for us because the table's full. Oh, come on, you guys have been there. I know I have. Where's my seat? There's no seat left. The table's full. Now remember, tables in the physical world are finite. They're exclusive. Now your reaction to what happens when the table's full goes back to what we said in the beginning about ignorance and basic goodness. If you go, oh, poor me, nobody likes me, nobody's thinking about me, poor me, then you are a professional at masking the basic goodness within. Because you see, it's not about the experiences in our life, it's about what we do with the experiences. It's what we do with the experiences that we have. So we may first feel that, and that's a normal feeling, to feel left out, lonely. That's okay, we have the feeling, but it's not about sinking into it. We choose it's a blessing or a curse. What if Spirit wants you at another table to be the blessing? Or if you're called somewhere else to do your work, or there's a teacher there for you. We have to be really aware what comes up in us and not push it away. It's not about ignoring any of this. They're messengers. Everything needs to be looked at as an honored guest. Why are you here in my life? What's up here for you? For me? It's not enough just to want to participate. We have to realize we have a greater call also. We have something that's calling us to do a greater part in the world, always. So when that comes, it's a time we put our feelings on the table. It's time to look at the beliefs we have about life and set them out at the table. Because the beautiful thing about our mind and our heart is it can be renewed constantly. We know so well the passage, do not be conformed to this world, but be ye renewed. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Be ye renewed by the softening of your heart. Be ye whatever you want. We can grow and evolve always. So if we look at all these beliefs, do we look at life and think, oh, life is inherently good? Yes? Yes. If not, we've got to do some adjusting. Get in some classes. Find a friend, do some journaling, whatever it is. Life is inherently good. There is something greater always out there. Yes, there's always something more. There's always potential. There's always something more. Always something more. Ernest Holmes always said there's a power for good in the universe greater than we are, and we can use it. So there's a power. There's always something more. And right next to that, we can use it. If your belief isn't aligned with that, we've got to align ourselves, because I'll tell you, this journey is about being fully alive. The journey of embracing it all. When we are totally fully alive is when our personality surrenders to our spirit and just is there to make our spirit more fully expressed on this plane. That's when we're fully, fully alive. And the last belief that I'm just thinking of in this moment when we're here, life is inherently good. There's always something more and greater for us to use, and that we are one. We're all made of the same stuff. We're just packaged differently because of the lessons and the experiences that we're here to be blessed with, so we can grow and understand more and more. So if there's any beliefs at that table that need to be molded into a different thought, a different feeling, a different energy, we have a beautiful opportunity to do it. When these feelings come up, these thoughts come up, it's a time to readjust, to do some work, to hunker down, to do my spiritual practices, and get in alignment with that good. Get in alignment with who I really am. And then the last part of this, wasn't it, it was Auntie Mame who said, life is a banquet, and some poor suckers are just starving to death. Now, she was a spicy little gal. She was spicy. And it just means, it's not that she didn't have hardships in her life. She had them backwards and forward, but she approached everything as an opportunity, because life is an opportunity for each and every one of us. So now I have another thought for you. First of all, I'd like to say one thing. Our most attended Sunday when the chairs are most full, is the fourth Sunday of the month. Fourth Sunday is our prayer wall Sunday. And I want to tell you what that tells me about our congregation, is that we have a faithful congregation. We don't care. When our ministers and practitioners line up here, we don't care who comes to the wall. Now, I know some of you want to wait and wait and wait for that certain person to pray with, and sometimes that's okay. But I also challenge you, if you do that, try someone new, because they're all different spices of life. But the only requirement we have to come to the prayer wall for it to be effective is that you have faith that that minister or practitioner can use that power greater than we are and know the truth for you. So we have a faithful community. That should give everybody the God bumps, because that's so special. It's so wonderful. I know we're a really social community too, and we have lots of fun, but that faith is what really shows us that we are faith-filled, and we have the opportunity, all of us, to be the light. So the last thing I'm going to ask you to do, or invite you to do, besides talking about, if somebody sits at your table you don't really want, how to approach that, and if the table's full, what we do. But I want you to start your own table. I want you once again to think of that table of 6, but this time, you're the inspiration. Who right now in your life needs your love and grace and wisdom? This table can be a physical table, but remember that spiritual table. We can do our work in our prayers and our knowingness and sharing our love. We can do that in our mind and in our heart. Where are you called to be something greater? It was John Wooden, I had a beautiful coach, who said, I get really emotional just even reading this, because it's just so true. You can't live a perfect day without doing something for someone who will never be able to repay you. That's what life's really about. We got to fill ourselves up. We've got to be at the table with the people that inspire us. You bet. We can't give what we don't have, but once you're filled, we've got to go out and do the work. We've got to be the blessing. So just in your mind's eye, I want you to think of that table and all the people there that you're called to bless, that you're called to see that basic goodness in them because they've covered it up temporarily. It's always there. Now, there's a YouTube here that I've been singing all morning. Now, first service didn't sing. And I sang, but Jeff cut me off because he was afraid it would be on the recording. And he was kind enough to tell me that. And it's okay. So, Gretchen, you may not know the song, but I gave you some words, so just if you can just at least try. But this, I want to tell you, the overarching theme this month is dancers and dreamers. Dancers on the earth and dreamers, spirit, whatever we're doing, dancers and dreamers. So this was a perfect video that's really about taking our table here to the very next step. This is about not just thinking of 6 people we can inspire, but to put our arms around a greater understanding about the world. And in your program, there's lyrics, but it's so cute to watch. You may not want to watch, but it's pretty easy to follow. So if you want to dance, you can dance. If you want to be goofy, you can be goofy. If you want to sing, you can sing. And if you want to just sit and do nothing, you can do that too. So let's watch.
Let our hearts not be hardened to those living on the margins. There is room at the table for everyone. This is where it all begins. This is how we gather in. There is room at the table for everyone. Too long we have wandered, burdened and undone, but there is room at the table for everyone. There is room for us all, and no gift is too small. There is room at the table for everyone. There's enough if we share. Come on, pull up a chair. There is room at the table for everyone. No matter who you are, no matter where you're from, there is a room at the table for everyone. Here and now we can be the beloved community. There is room at the table for everyone. There is room for us all, and no gift is too small. There is room at the table for everyone. There's enough if we share. Come on, pull up a chair. There is room at the table for everyone. There is room for us all, and no gift is too small. There is room at the table for everyone. There's enough if we share. Come on, pull up a chair. There is room at the table for everyone. Let our hearts not be hardened to those living on the margins. There is room at the table for everyone. This is how we gather in for everyone.
So, just in closing, when we really are open and available, I just invite you to close your eyes and wrap yourself for a minute. And, room at the table for everyone. I'm going to invite you as you tap in that basic goodness, that essence of friendliness that is the truth of our being, to just open and put your arms around the whole world. And as we tap into that goodness and that essence of friendliness, and we honor each guest that's present, the truth I know, the outward picturing of that basic goodness is a smile, a joy, an acceptance, a feeling of oneness. And as your arms encircle the world and all the things and people in it, feel the power and presence of God's love, the arms of Spirit as they hug and embrace you, inspire and pull you to your greatest yet to be. And as you feel that presence of Spirit as it ignites and taps into who we are and expands the light within us and allows us to accept all parts of this experience, of this beautiful thing we call life. The smile we have right here, right now, is a smile that goes out to everyone and everything. Everything in us, around us, through us, and every being on this planet. How good it is to be alive. How good it is to be part of the good that's happening. How blessed we are to be able to say, yes, I have my table. And it's the world. And on that essence and energy, we can smile and say, and so it is. I bless you all for being part of my table, our table together. Teachers, students, blessings all around. And so it is. Thank you.